for Russian commanders, the lives of the Russians are worth nothing. They just need to fill the empty spaces left by the killed, wounded, those who fled, or the Russian soldiers that were captured. This is how the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, explained the reason for the mobilization announced in Russia. Therefore, the only way to survive is not to get to the Ukrainian front line.
It was no coincidence that the criminal mobilization declared by Russia was immediately called a mobilization to graves by the citizens of Russia themselves. Therefore, the crucial moment has come for you. Right now it is being decided whether your life will end or not. It is better not to take a summon than to be killed in a foreign land as a war criminal. It is better to run away from criminal mobilization than to be crippled and then bear responsibility in the court for participating in the aggressive war. It is better to surrender to the Ukrainian captivity than to be killed by the strikes of our weapons.
Public organizations and associations of lawyers help Russians to avoid conscription and protect their rights. You can see their list on the screen. But Viktor Shchepilov, the military commissioner of Moscow, has threatened the lawyers who help the draft evaders with deprivation of their licenses and criminal liability. The military commissioner did not explain which article of the criminal code they plan to attract the evaders under.
Due to the fact that neither the constitution nor the laws of Russia work, I have already said, in general, I will not be surprised that lawyers will be deprived of their licenses and they will not be able to fulfill their professional duty. There is actually nothing surprising in this. A repressive state issues repressive laws and simply grinds people down with an alternative point of view.
The legal way to avoid going to the war in Ukraine is to send an application to the recruitment office. It is better to do it by post, not in person, referring to paragraph 3 of the 59th article of the Russian constitution. It guarantees to all citizens of Russia the replacement of the performance of military duties by civilians if they have convictions that are contrary to military service. But there is no guarantee that the request will be approved. Therefore, the more reliable way is simply not to receive a summons.
One piece of advice to the conscripts or men today is as follows. First of all, do not leave at the place of registration. Do not sign any papers at all, because if you sign a summons, there may be an administrative penalty, but physically you cannot be drafted.
In Russia, if you don't appear at the recruitment office, you will face administrative responsibility, which is fines. The evader can be sentenced to up to 2 years in prison. However, there are also good reasons like illness or injury, the serious state of health of a close relative, or a circumstance that does not depend on the will of the citizen. After the announcement of the mobilization, the Russians stormed the borders with Georgia, Kazakhstan, Finland and Mongolia and line up in huge queues at the airports. It is difficult to say what the long-term consequences will be for those who went abroad, but something else is important. In the near future, the long arms of the military commissioners will definitely not reach them. However, there is a little time to leave. Russia may close the borders.
Draft-age men after the sham referendums will be banned from leaving Russia, but supposedly it will be possible to leave with a certificate from the recruitment office. There will be a semblance of exit visas. In order to leave Russia, men will have to obtain permission from the recruitment office. From the publication of Medusa, with reference to a source close to the administration of the President of Russia.
If it was not possible to avoid mobilization, the only way to survive is not become a war criminal is to surrender. If you are alone, unfasten the magazine and hang your weapon on the left shoulder with the barrel down. Show empty hands. Raise the white cloth, shout, "I surrender," and fulfill the requirements of the Ukrainian defenders. If you are surrendering as a group or an entire unit, lay down all the weapons in front of you at a distance. Stand directly in front of the military equipment. Turn it off, it should not be in a combat position. Choose a negotiator to notify the Ukrainian military about the desire to surrender. It must be an officer or a senior officer with a white flag and without weapons. The armed forces of Ukraine guarantee to all prisoners the right to life and respect for the prohibition of torture in accordance with international law. Also an amnesty for those who voluntarily hand over their military equipment and lay down their weapons, as well as a provided phone call to their relatives. Reported by Dana Kolesnik, Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.